2.5 years. That is how long it took my next guest to get his Ohio Liberty Coalition group its tax-exempt status. 2.5 years. By comparison, the usual filing process takes no more than 6 months, usually a lot less. Tom Wazistowski knew he was getting the runaround from the IRS, but wait till you hear the kind of questions and demands he was getting from the IRS. Tom, very good to have you. Tell me a little bit. I know ultimately your status was approved. You got your tax-exempt clearing, but man, oh man, it was a process. What were some of the things they wanted?
Well, you know, the Ohio Liberty Coalition is kind of unique, Neil, in that we're a statewide body that kind of works with all the 233 Tea Party groups in Ohio. So we're a little bit different because we don't have individuals that are members of our group. We have groups that are members of our group. So, for instance, their letter said that we not only want you to identify every group that's a member of the Ohio Liberty Coalition, we want you to give us their federal tax ID numbers, which I would never ask for, you know, if I had to. They wanted to know everyone that had ever spoken to our groups, who attended the meetings, what the speaker said. They wanted a transcript, and they wanted copies of all the handouts.
Amazing. So on just the number stuff, Tom, I'm just a little slower. That part got my attention right away. How did you get around that demand? When they were asking for all these numbers, how did you get around that? What did you offer instead?
Well, Neil, that was the point. When I got the letter on January 26th of 2012, it just didn't smell right. I mean, there was nothing there that had anything to do with tax-exempt status. So my first reaction was to say, no, we're not going to give this to you. Of course, my lawyers are saying, Tom, it's the IRS. You know, you don't say no. But we wrote back to them and we said, listen, we're not going to tell you who attended meetings, who spoke, and what they said. I'll give you a calendar. Here's the meetings we had. Here were the topics. That's all I'm going to give you. And they came back and said, that's not good enough. And we came back and said, well, you're not getting any more. And that's when we sent our letter on February 16th saying we refuse to comply. These questions are onerous, intrusive, and politically motivated, and we demand that you give us our 501c3 status because we do qualify, even if you don't say so, and we're going to take this to our congressmen and our senators. We're going to fight you.
And then what happened?
Well, what happened was we got a little media for that, and Congressman Jim Jordan and Darrell Issa wrote some letters, and Senator Rob Portman got on board and started asking some questions. But what happened to me, Neil, was Tea Party groups from all over the country started calling me personally and said, Tom, you thought you had bad questions? Let me tell you about the question where they want to know all of our past and present board members and directors and the names of their family members and whether they or any of their family members have ever held political office or intend to do so in the future.
Oh, my God.
Or Marion Bowers from the Fremont Tea Party, a wonderful woman who's here with us in D.C. At the Fremont Tea Party, when you fill out your 1024 application, you have to list your activities. You know, we go on bus trips, we have meetings, and we have a book club, Neil. We have a book club. And the IRS said, we want to know every book you've read, and we want you to write a book report on it. And Marion Bowers sent them the books and said, read them yourself.
Incredible. Now, you know, you had the guts to say, the hell with this. We're not doing this. And because of the way you handle it and were direct and you wouldn't back down, you know, you were able to get this process through and achieved, but many other groups did not. And the IRS, as you point out at the outset, Tom, can be a very intimidating entity, and whatever the IRS wants, it generally gets. So I'm thinking of all the other organizations that folded, or I was talking to one last night on FBN that said, the hell with it. So how many individuals, how many groups do you think ultimately decided it wasn't worth the fuss, it wasn't worth the fight?
Yeah, I would say maybe as many as 10% of all the Tea Party groups in the country just closed up. They were intimidated, Neil. They were afraid. They don't get letters from the IRS. These are just mom and pops, aunts and uncles. These are everyday Americans, and that's why your viewers need to understand that the Tea Party stood up not just for ourselves and not for the millions of Tea Party people. We stood up for all Americans, and we said, you know, we're going to defend our freedom and our liberty, and we're not going to be bullied by government.
But when you knew that and said that, and some of your lawyers, some of them might be the Democrats for all I know, they might have said, well, this is out of the normal range of questions and inquiries the IRS has. That what I'm hearing from some lawyers is they said, we instantly recognized that the focus on all these minutiae was beyond anything we had seen before of any other groups, liberal or otherwise.
Well, Scott,
is that when it connected?
Neil, I mean, I think that's the most frightening thing about this, because when we started to talk to people, and like when Jay Sekulow from the ACLJ joined us on a national conference call and started hearing these questions,
right.
Neil, they'd never heard questions like this before. And even today, I've had literally major newspaper reporters apologize to me personally in the last 2 days and said, Tom, when you came out with this a year ago, it was so off the scale. I just couldn't believe it. And when the IRS traced out the IRS leader to Congress and he said there's no targeting of Tea Party members, they shut down. Now they're getting the documents and they're telling me this is worse than you said it was last year. These questions are unbelievable. This is Nazi Germany.
Are you suing?
It's insane. And I think that what has to happen here is that's why Americans need to get with their local Tea Party.
Are you suing, Tom?
I think there's going to be legal action. Neil, again, you talk to lawyers, they go, wow, this is something you don't get in your normal law class.
Yeah.
This is a little bit different. But there's going to be criminal issues here. There's civil issues here. There's real damages, Neil.
Absolutely. Thomas, thank you very, very much. Amazing story.